You're doing life completely wrong if you're just going through the motions without any deeper sense of fulfillment. And it's not your fault. Most people struggle with this. But listen up, because what I'm about to share with you will forever change how you live your life. I'm talking about 4 shocking ideas from the ancient philosopher Plato that are still relevant today, maybe even more so in our crazy modern world. Look, if you're tired of feeling like something's missing despite checking all the typical life boxes, you need to hear this. It took me months of obsessively studying Plato to fully grasp just how profound and revolutionary his wisdom really is. Stick with me, because this is honestly some of the most important philosophy you'll hear this decade. By the end of this video, you'll have a completely new outlook on what it really means to live life to the absolute fullest. Let's dive in. So, first of all, let me set the scene for you. We're in ancient Athens, Greece around 2,400 years ago. This compact city had only about 250,000 residents, but it was a bustling cultural hub with luxurious baths, impressive theaters, majestic temples, lively shopping arcades, and state-of-the-art gymnasiums. And with its warm Mediterranean climate for more than half the year, it was an idyllic place to call home. This was the birthplace of an extraordinary thinker, quite possibly the greatest philosopher the world has ever known. His name was Plato, born into a prominent, rich Athenian family. But Plato devoted his entire life to a singular pursuit, helping people achieve what he called eudaimonia, a state of true fulfillment and flourishing. Now, Plato is often confused with his older friend and mentor Socrates. While Socrates helped shape much of Plato's philosophical viewpoints, he didn't actually write anything down himself. That was Plato's job. And boy, did he ever leave an impressive body of work. 36 written dialogues recounting imaginary discussions, almost all of them starring Socrates in a leading role. Some of Plato's most famous dialogues that have stood the test of time include the Republic, the Symposium, the Laws, the Memo, and the Apology. Through these masterfully crafted scripts, Plato captured the wisdom and insights that he had gleaned from Socrates in a format designed to stimulate the reader's own critical thinking. So, what are the 4 shocking ideas that Plato had to make life more fulfilled? Idea number 1. Think more. Ever feel like you're just going through life so fast that you don't even have the time to just think? That was one of Plato's biggest beefs with how most people live. Think about it this way. We often just mindlessly follow popular trending opinions. You know, ideas like money is everything or just follow your heart. But Plato showed that a lot of this common sense wisdom is actually riddled with errors that steer us totally wrong in life. Plato's big idea was know thyself. Bet you've heard that one before. But let's really break it down. I'll make sure you get what it's all about so it sticks with you. Know thyself means continually taking stock of your fundamental perspectives and putting them through a rigorous self-evaluation. It's kinda like pulling apart an engine to inspect all the parts rather than just blindly turning a key and going. You ask yourself, why do I really want that career or type of relationship? What are my deepest motivations here? Are they well-reasoned or based on shaky assumptions? The goal was to strengthen your self-knowledge and self-mastery so you wouldn't get whipped around by every gust of emotion or cultural shifts. With a more examined life and philosophical reasoning as your anchor, you could make wiser choices for fulfillment. Let's move on to idea number 2. Let your lover change you. Have you ever thought about what it truly means to be in love? In Plato's play Symposium, a wild dinner party unfolds where friends indulge a bit too much and dive deep into discussions about love, intimacy, and relationships. Amidst the revelry, Plato drops the bomb, true love is admiration. It sounds strange at first, but think about it. When we're with someone who has qualities we admire, like bravery, organization, or sincerity, we can't help but be drawn to them. And as we get closer to them, we start to pick up on those qualities ourselves. Plato argues that true love is about admiring someone's good qualities and wanting to become more like them. So, if you're thinking about what you want in a partner, consider finding someone who helps you become the best version of yourself. It's not about finding someone who loves us just the way we are, but about finding someone who helps us grow. Speaking of helping each other grow, why don't you hit that like button and subscribe to our channel? That's supposed to help us grow and reach more people with this important information. Back to Athens with Plato's third idea, which was decode the message of beauty. Have you ever wondered why most of us are drawn to beautiful things, whether it's a flower, a landscape, or a beautifully designed house? The ancient Greek philosopher Plato was one of the first to really question why we find certain things beautiful, and he came up with a fascinating explanation. According to Plato, beautiful objects are essentially whispering important truths to us about what it means to live a good life. When we see something beautiful, we unconsciously sense qualities in it that we may be lacking or craving in our own lives. Things like gentleness, harmony, balance, peace, and strength. So, in Plato's view, beautiful objects serve an important function. They help to educate and nourish our souls by reminding us of the positive qualities we should strive for. Plato saw art and beauty as therapeutic forces that could guide us towards living more fulfilling lives. He believed it was the duty of artists, poets, writers, designers, creators of all kinds to use their work to help steer us in the right direction towards qualities that make for a truly good life. So, next time you're struck by something beautiful, remember, according to Plato, it's not just pleasing to the eye, but a little nudge towards becoming a better version of yourself. Idea number 4, reform society. You know, Plato was way ahead of his time, the original utopian thinker, if you will. While others were focused on conquering lands and amassing military might, Plato had much bigger questions on his mind. He was obsessed with this idea. How can we structure society in a way that helps people truly flourish and live their best lives? You see, Plato looked at the superpower of his day, Sparta, and he understood their whole culture was like a fine-tuned machine for churning out elite warriors. Every aspect of Spartan life, from how they raised their kids to what they ate, was engineered for one singular purpose: military domination. And hey, nobody could argue with their battlefield success. But for Plato, brute military strength wasn't the end goal. His mind was on unlocking human potential of a different kind, creating an environment where people could achieve true fulfillment, wisdom, and virtuous character. His famous work, The Republic, outlined his blueprint for this idyllic society. One of his big gripes with Athens was their celebrity obsession. Rich playboys and buff athletes were the ones socially fawned over and tried to emulate. Plato knew that who we admire deeply shapes our values and actions. Having shallow, flawed celebrities as role models was like giving society one big collective message about what to aspire towards. Instead, Plato envisioned a new class of guardian celebrities. People who embodied wisdom, public service, and noble character. These philosophical sages would be the ones exalted above all others, true role models for a flourishing society. Speaking of philosophy, that was another big part of Plato's prescription. He wanted to completely upend the rowdy Athenian democracy, which he saw as a populist circus where organized mobs picked terrible leaders. Instead of that mob rule, voting would be a sacred privilege only granted to those grounded in rationality and philosophy. To get that philosophical ball rolling, Plato founded his famous academy where students weren't just taught subjects like math, but trained in the arts of thinking deeply and living an ethical life. His dream was for this crop of philosopher kings and queens to one day lead society. In Plato's mind, once we had leaders devoted to reason over popularity contests, and a culture geared towards wisdom and virtue over wealth and power, that's when humanity could finally get it right. As he put it, the world would be right when philosophers become kings or when kings become philosophers. Lofty goals for sure, but you can't fault the man's ambition to create nothing less than the blueprint for human thriving. Plato's ideas remain deeply provocative and fascinating. What unites them is their ambition and their idealism. He wanted philosophy to be a tool to help us change the world. We should continue to be inspired by his example. As we wrap up this journey through Plato's timeless wisdom, remember that his ideas aren't just relics of the past. They're guiding lights for our present and future. Make sure to subscribe and like. If you liked this video, make sure to watch our other videos that are all about admiring life. See you in the next video.